Hello everyone and welcome back to our Moneyball series with Paris FC, the reigning, defending French Cup winners. It feels good to say that. It feels good to say that we are undefeated in I don't know how many games against PSG. Things are finally starting to move forwards in the Moneyball series. But not forwards enough. We aren't challenging them for the title at the moment. We need to do better. And we need to have a third good transfer window in a row. There is a problem though. And the problem is this screen right here. Transfer budget remaining 4.07 million. Right. Yeah, I don't understand this board. I just don't understand it. Like, that's the projection. That's not even with our Champions League money coming in, right? So, it's going to put us in a really, really good position. I mean, sack the board. Just get the board out, please. Get some new owners in here. And, yeah, it's already not even the original owners. It's already with one takeover in. But it's very frustrating. And we're going to really struggle unless I like to sell a player who is worth a lot of money, whose stats I feel don't necessarily compute. Now, the only player that I can see is Bayer. Now, Bayer is outstanding. Don't get me wrong. His stats are fantastic. However, I have got 3 players, maybe even 4, that can do what he's doing, including him. So, Bayer, Ray, Barbosa, and Dimitrovic can all provide a very similar amount of stats if they're giving enough starts at that right-wing position. Whoever plays on the right-hand side gets more goals, gets more assists, and gets all that type of thing. It's the more aggressive of the 2 roles in the tactic, right? The way it's not just the role itself, but also what's in and around it. So Bayer's can always look slightly ahead of the other players. If I was to play Bayer as a left winger for an entire season and play, I don't know, Barbosa on the right, Barbosa's already doing really well. Let's just say Ray instead. You would see the difference in the 2 players' stats. And Dimitrovic as well. If I was to play Bayer right back for some matches and play Dimitrovic right wing all the time, again, you would see the stats. So I've got 4 players. Do I need 4? Yeah, for a top class side, you do need 4 good wide players. I think if you're playing 2 wide players, you want to have 2 backup players in case of any injuries, any fitness issues, that kind of stuff. But can we afford 4? That's the question. It might be that we have to sell Bayer for, I don't know, we'd probably get more than that if somebody approaches us anyway. We could probably get, I don't know, 70 million for Bayer. There's, taking 70 for him. And don't forget, we have got Funes Mori, the youngster that we signed last season. We do have him in the youth teams that we've loaned out. So we could sell Bayer for like 70 million, don't even have to pay to replace him, and then rebuild the squad from there. It's going to take something like that for us to get ourselves ahead here in the financial department. It's very frustrating where we're sort of left. Who is guaranteed to go this season, I hear you ask? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be Madueke and Adele. Adele has a year left on his contract, won't sign a new one anyway, so that makes it easy for him. Madueke, I don't know if he wants to leave anyway, but he's going to leave. We'll cash in on him. That'll give us, I don't know, maybe 50-ish million between the 2 players, something close to that. And it's going to give us about 80, almost 85 grand a week, just short of that, in wages to spend. And then we're going to have to sign number 10, effectively. Unless we use Conti as a 10. That's a possibility, of course. A very good player, I think, Conti. Is he a 10? Or have I converted him into this sort of, like, attacking pivot player? Not quite sure, but they're the options, and there's quite a few things for us to go through here. Okay, before we get into any of that, though, let's have a quick look at the player stats, compare them again to PSG, and see how close it was this season, see if there's any differences from the last one. Okay, here we go then. Strikers. Actually, Mbappe we can ignore. Mbappe did not play striker apart from 3 matches all season, played on the wings. But they played their new gen youngster, we can see here, scored 28 goals. I'll go through this quickly here. Like I mentioned, Oporg with his minutes per goal was so good. It's really impressive, that. But non-penalty XG per 90, so what kind of chance are they getting into? 0.73. We're right on that. Both our strikers are on that sort of level there. Extra performance, he's got 8.57. That's pretty impressive. We're on a 3.34, 3.85. I guess he's an excellent finisher. That's quite impressive, actually. Minutes per goal, 85.93. I mean, Aporg's pretty close to that, actually. That's quite interesting. He's actually really close to it, but Piscelli's slightly lower. Conversion ratio, 29%. Ours is 22 and 32. Looking at shot on target ratio, 54 for us, 58. They had 58. Shot on target ratio was 55, 54 for us, and it was 58 for him. Again, not too far off. I'm starting to see quite early on. I don't think this is where we want to lose the league title. We're going to lose it next year. Dribbles per 90 slightly higher. So dribbles per 90 slightly higher than our 2 players, and his XG over performance is over. Apart from that, like header 1 ratio, what's that for him? 34%. He's not bad in the air either, but so is Piscelli. Like, if I could morph these 2 into 1 player, we'd have the perfect one. But yeah, I don't think we're winning and losing the title here next season if he's a striker anyway. So like, I backed Piscelli to be able to do a pretty good job there, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see. Right, I've searched for the exact stats that he had for the new striker. Couldn't find anybody. I've dropped it a little bit. Continue to drop it carrying on from now to see what else we can get here. Right, here we go. Mil Strubants, a youngster, very, very expensive. His minutes per goal is 85 minutes, right? That is almost in line with what their youngster has got. Extra performance of 7.64. He's only scored 12 goals, but only 4 starts, lots of appearances. For some reason, they've been, I guess, Huskovic have been banging the goals for them. They really want to play a one-striker system. But if you look at that, like, he's got to be their next big thing. And for some unknown reason, they're deciding not to play him. I think he's going to be absolutely world-class. He's going to be too expensive for us off the bat now, but like if we sell like a big player, we can afford it. I think he's going to be the one. He could even maybe play like as a 10 for us. If we need to, we can at least try him as a 10, see if that works out, to try and get him and Spizicek in the same side. But that looks really exciting from my point of view. Okay, Miroslav Nokanovic. He looked really good. Extra performance of 4.57, sorry. Minutes per goal 185, conversion ratio of 16%, shot on target ratio is high. Again, he's a little low on these stats here, but again, we're not really looking at that one too much, but his conversion ratio is a little low, but his shot on target ratio is very, very good, and his extra performance is good. Dribbles per 90 is good, head on ratio is acceptable. That's a pretty good player, only 18 years old, and a bit cheaper than the previous lads. So we've got Ayut Bagci here from Turkey. So his extra performance is good. His conversion ratio is quite low, shot on target ratio is a bit lower, so he's a bit, I'd say, worse than the Serbian player we just looked at, but his dribbles per 90 is slightly higher. There's a chance he's more of like a running in behind pacey striker or play on the right-hand side on maybe a wide area, potentially for us. So we're going to scout him as well. Looks like another good young option, but maybe isn't quite as good stats-wise as the previous player. Right, that was strikers. Let's move on then and have a look at the wide players, which could be an important one this year if we do choose to sell somebody. Okay, only really one player to look at in comparison. We're going to compare Mbappe to our wide players, which is a bit unfair really, but that's what we're going to do in any case. We're going to hold them to those standards, you know. Let's see how we get on here. So let's have a look at then at dribbles per 90. 3.63 for Mbappe, 2.40, 2.66, 2.37, 4.24 for Dimitrovic. Now, Dimitrovic's the only player that we can't really compare too much to this player, really, because Dimitrovic played an awful lot of games for us at right back. 20 starts. So you can see it's very tough, but I'm going to put it on the list anyway, just in case we can take something from it. Cross completion 27% for Mbappe, 21, 14, 13. So, I mean, his dribbles per 90 is generally higher than most of our players, and his cross completion is higher as well. Although I don't know what role he's been playing this year. He's been playing on the right-hand side, more on his natural side, more this year. I think still as an inside forward, but he's not playing on the left anymore because that's where Musiala gets his game time. Open play key passes per 90. 2.49 for Mbappe. We've got all of our players higher than that, which is that's good. That's what makes up for a little bit for the lack of the other stuff. Chances created per 90, 1.14, and that's pretty high. Though that's higher than everybody apart from Barbosa for us. And progressive passes 3.04. That's lower than all of our players. Shot on target ratio 45%. So that's only higher than, well, actually it's higher than 3 of the players, but it's only marginally higher than Ray. It's much higher than the right back, Dimitri playing right back, Barbosa. But Byers is higher. I'm looking at Bayer. I'm finding it hard to replace him despite the money that could be on offer. With the conversion ratio of 22% for Mbappe, which is significantly higher. We can afford to not have as much of this, I think, for a player this year. But we want to try and get a player that's got a better conversion ratio, because that 22 is significantly better than nearly all of our players. Of all the ones that matter anyway. Bayer's got a header-one ratio 59%. That's crazy. Mbappe's got 16. That's what he's got. Dimitrovic's got high there, but he also defends a lot playing right back, right? So his percentage is skewed. And then these two lads both on 19, which is fairly low, but still higher than Mbappe, incidentally. Okay, so there's one player in the world of football that's got Mbappe's stats. Unfortunately, it's from 2 starts, and it's in the Brazilian 3rd division. Apart from that, it would have been good. So this Luis Eduardo here scores pretty high on a few of the stats, but crucially, conversion rate of 8% is going to go on the shortlist. He is definitely not going to be signed this year, I don't think, unless we miss out on every other option. And he's the last one. He looks pretty good, but that's the big thing for us this year, so it's not going to be him. Okay, so Alisson, the right winger here, might be a good shout. He scored 9 goals in 21. Then we looked at him a little bit as the secondary striker in this team. Dribbles per 92.74, a little low compared to what we're looking for 3.63. But we said the most important thing was, do they have high conversion ratio? That's what we're looking at this year. We're happy to take less of this if they have high conversion ratio, because the aggregate for the wingers as a group of players, that brings the aggregate up, because we've got this section here, it's having a strike or a winger, wide player with good conversion ratio. We don't have that right now. So it could be worth buying him, even at the expense of a slightly lesser period here. But I think that in our team, that could go up anyway. So pretty good player, Alisson looks. But again, it's non-EU, so not sure if that's going to help us, really. Okay, so August Dusman here. Dribbles per 90 of 3.28. Cross completion is a disgrace. That is awful. Conversion ratio is okay. Shot on target ratio is very good. It's like he's either got something that's dead in line with what they're looking for, or he's got something that's terrible. So we're going to shortlist him and track him. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, that. He's wanted by a lot of clubs. Look at that. I mean, that dribbles per 90 puts, like, that makes up for... I'd say having that high makes up for, like, 2 stats being pretty low. And one of them is cross completion. You could argue the second one would be open play key passes per 90. And everything else is easily in line with our own players. And it's almost in line with Mbappe as well and some of the others. So I don't know. That could be a decent one. Again, I mean, if I was to sell Bayer, would he be a good backup potentially? I just feel like Bayer's going to have to go. And it's not because I want to sell him. I love Bayer. But we need to try and be able to sustain the club long term. I think he might have to be the player that leaves. Okay, that is why players done. Let's move on now and look at number 10s. It's been an important one because we're going to Sam Madueke and Adel. We need to get a good number 10 in this transfer window. Right, okay, then number 10s. Let's compare. We're looking at Jamal Musiala really here is what we're looking at. The reason there's always a player above them sometimes, I'm just trying to get them to close to the top of the list. So when I do the screenshot, you can see the stats as well as the players. That's why sometimes there's 2 players in this shop. I'm actually looking at 1. So only looking at Jamal Musiala. I did double check. He played, I think, 47 of 53 games starting at centre mid. So we can pretty much go off these stats okay. So expected assists per 90, 0.21 for him. Both our number 10s have got more than that. Don't forget, Jamal Musiala played as a central midfielder in a 4-3-3. So almost with like 2 number 10, number 8s in the same team, not just 1. So we have to factor that in a little bit as well. But it's still an advanced role and duty, right, for him. Open play key passes per 90 of 2.54. We have got 2.26, 1.79 for Adel. That's not very good at all. Progressive passes of 7.37. That is significantly more than our players in the number 10 position. Again, they're slightly different now, aren't they? Not both playing number 10s. They're playing central midfielders in their system now. I mean, what's really funny here, Giovanni Reina's got a conversion ratio of 1%. 1%? We've got centre-backs better than that. Gila, 8%. There you go. Conversion ratio. That's so funny. 1%. That's terrible. Well, we can beat them on that. Both players have better conversion ratios. We need to worry about that. Somehow, Jamal Musiala's only got a 9% conversion rate, but a shot on target ratio. Well, I can beat them on that as well. Non-penalty XG per 90. Our players get into better attacking areas. Dribbles per 90. Okay, so they have more dribbles per 90 than us in central midfields. And they're slightly better in the air. But across the board, I don't know, like, I'm not that impressed. That's obviously not what we're losing the game either, which means it's really important that we get a good replacement for Adel. They don't have to be exactly the same as Adel. They can be more like a Musiala, but they cannot be a downgrade in almost any way. Like, they can have less open play key passes per 90 for Adel, but they have to have their more dribbles per 90. We have to offset the aggregate somehow in the stats. So I'm going to be very, very careful with that purchase. I can't take a monumental risk with the number 10 role going into this this transfer right now, whoever we look to get. Okay, Josip Vogel, I can't remember when I put him on the list, whether I've shown you him before or not. It could have been last year, but he's got a lot of goals this year from midfield, which is good. George Bernat is slightly low, but he's got good shot on target ratio, good conversion ratio. So again, he doesn't quite have it here, but he has it here. So again, we're offsetting a little bit. He's not the perfect replacement for like a Musiala, but he's good in some of the areas. So he goes on to the shortlist there. Oh, in fact, I'm in the way, aren't I? Sorry, yeah. So Johan Vogel, I'm not showing too many players in the list, so I've not hopefully blocked too many people. It's been me looking manually at players. But yeah, Vogel here, like really good across the board, apart from dribbles per 90. It's probably a bit low, but I feel like we've got more likely a chance of having a wide player that could play wide than we could be Barbosa as the 10, because Barbosa is really creative. That's more likely than us actually getting a number 10 there. I didn't really see too many players that were going to be an immediate, yeah, they're the one kind of player, which is a bit unfortunate. I looked through every league that I could, so, I mean, I don't really look at my own league, I suppose. Okay, so Hannibal is on the transfer list. I've just gone through and looked through some players, and the reason he brought my attention towards him was the fact that he had a 2.69 open play key passes per 90. Now, he's just got the 3 starts and 21 sub-appearances. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to go to the previous save game file for last season. He actually started quite a few more games for United there. I'm going to compare to see what he had back then. Because his dribbles per 90 here is quite low, but his open play key passes are really high. And let's just see if that sustains over the last season. Okay, so here is Hannibal Majibri, who was transfer listed last season, apparently, at the end of last season. And yeah, this is interesting. So last season, he had open play key passes that were a lot lower, but his dribbles per 90 was slightly higher. The shot on target ratio is very good, and guess what else is very good? Conversion ratio. So I think I'm going to pull the trigger on him. That's 2 years in a row. It looks like he's got good stats. Now this year, the reason in like the up-to-date year, he hasn't had too many starts. There were a lot of the sub appearances. So I had to go back a year and make sure I had a year of solid starts from him to see if there's something to compare to. And in both years, there's something really good that I like. So I'm going to try and pull the trigger on Hannibal Mejbri's transfer and see what we can get him for being transfer listed. Transfer listed last year. Have they just transfer listed him every year and hope for the best? You went on loan to Leon as well, apparently. So there you are. Okay, look to that. Let's look now for pivot players. And this is quite an important one as well. We really struggled with this last season. And we could probably do with it being a good transfer winner for us in this position again. We'll probably have to sell somebody somewhere that's make it happen again. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so CDM, we're looking at Enzo Fernandez. Actually played majority of his starts at CDM. Him and Marquinhos basically split the CDM starts. It was hard to really pick one. So we're going to go with just Enzo Fernandez being slightly more, I guess, aggressive. So open key passes per 91.59. All three of my players, I think, well, Conte's a little bit below that, but it's pretty close anyway. What I'm looking for is if they are significantly better than us in a center. 1.59 is lower than two of my players, only marginally ahead of Conte there. Progressive passes per 90, they've got 7.85. That is more than Rikichi. So he's higher than one of my players here, than he's higher than one of my players here. Pass completion ratio, he's got 90%. That's higher than all my players just. Dribbles per 90, he's got 0.55. That is a little bit higher than all three of my pivot players. Tackle 1 ratio, he is on 74%. Now, that's higher than all of my midfield players. That's quite important, I think. And then the other one is interceptions per 90. And he's going to display a 0.93 for that. And we're way above that. So the only thing he's really better than is the tackles, the tackle 1 ratio, even headers 1 ratio. He's got 37. Two of my players massacre him on that, and Conte gets destroyed by him on that. So yeah, probably not as big of a gap as I thought for the actual like pivot players. I mean, the one thing is maybe getting somebody who's got a better tackle-win ratio. Let's focus primarily on that. So let's focus on all the stats, of course, but let's look at that as a priority. Well, unfortunately, the only player that's come up on our list is Jonas Gill, and he plays for PSG, so that's not good, is it? And he's only played 7 starts, but I suspect he's probably going to become their starter next season, so that's not good news for us, is it really? Okay, we've got Ardon Jashari here, who's a CDM playing in the Serie A. He plays for, currently, Sassuolo. Gets whenever possible and dictates tempo as a pivot player. He's probably going to be the box-to-box version of the two, right? But he's got quite a few good things. He expected assists of a 3.95. That's quite impressive, you know. George Bernat isn't great, but he's not that kind of player. Good tackle 1 ratio, which is important for us. He looks really, really good and could be really good value for money, more in particular. Okay, W. Zaire Emery with the hyphen in the middle. He looks pretty good in the Portuguese Premier League. He's got a tackle win ratio of 86%, header ratio of 45, interceptions per 91.59. Open key passes is good. He is an all-round top-level player. He's got to come in, I think. He's French as well, I think, isn't he? Yeah, played for PSG. He's a PSG player. That could be a really good sign-in. Like, I don't know what his tackling attribute is going to be, but the fact that he wins that many tackles, I mean, I don't know. Where's he been playing for them, though? Has he been playing mainly DM as well? Okay, he could be the one. Okay, I changed some of the settings to take away some of the in-possession stuff and just give me the defensive stuff. I put tackle win ratio to minimum of 80%. And Aubrey de Wilde has appeared here. Somebody who can tackle, very good in the air. Progressive passes is okay, maybe a little low. He's a little low on some of the attacking stuff, but he does get the ball and win it quite a lot and isn't too bad on the attacking stuff, which wasn't quite showing in the way we had it displaying beforehand. Right, but through all the CDMs, we can move on now to fullbacks. And I don't think we can afford to actually improve this area too much, so hopefully it all looks okay. Okay, so those were our main wing-backs compared to theirs. So dribbles per 90, it's going to be a 4.92 for Hakimi, and Gutierrez got 4.21 to be fair to him. That's pretty high, and surprising to be honest. Cross completion of a 16% for him and 22% for Mendes. And we've only got one player that can really compete with Hakimi here. We've got nobody that competes with Mendes on terms of cross completion. Open play key passes per 90, 2.40. I mean, Gutierrez is matching Hakimi step for step here. He's got 2% less here. That's it. Like, he's really done really well this year. Tackle 1 ratio, 78% for Hakimi. Okay, so that's a bit lower, is the tackle 1 ratio. Interceptions per 90 for him is 3.96. We've got a 4.04. So yeah, again, a little lower in the interceptions for Gutierrez. So a little bit defensively here, Hakimi gets out of it. Header-on ratio, 70%. I mean, he's done really well, Gutierrez. Makanu, if I was to compare Makanu to Hakimi, he's a lot less, but he does play with a wing-back support role, which is where obviously Makanu normally is, and Gutierrez on the left on the attack duty. So that does go to show how maybe the role and duty can play a little bit of an effect there on the players. But really, Delian Chevalier will probably be a good one to compete against Hakimi here, being the attacking side on the left for us. So Chevalier is a little far off, isn't he? He's obviously the backup to Gutierrez, and quite a significant drop in most categories, which is like it can't be much worse than that across the board. Like dribbles per night is still pretty good, but everything else is a little bit lower, isn't it? Really, so got to keep an eye on that. I think going into next season, Makanu looks okay to me. 8 assists is pretty good for somebody who's the more defensive side. I mean, if he repeats that next season, if he's able to get us 8 assists, 2 goals from right back again next season, I would take that. So I'm not too worried about Makanu. He should be better next season as well, so that's okay. So probably the backup right back, maybe that's it. It depends really, right? Because if we maintain this sort of like, if we can get 3 good wingers and have Dimitrovic as the sort of 4th choice winger and the 2nd choice right back, that probably gives us the best of all worlds there. But okay, a couple more options there at fullback if we need to. But we're going to continue on now. Look at centre backs, our final area of concern. Okay, then centre backs. Tackle ratio for Ronald Araujo is going to be 72%. Ours is 74 and 71, pretty close. Interceptions per 90 for him is 3.47. We've got higher on both of those, which is quite interesting. Goal mistakes. Actually, how many mistakes did he make? 1. Gila made 4. That's quite high, isn't it? But let's also auto-size this. Possessions 1 per 90, 25 and 22. And he's got 22. Open play key passes per 90, 0.28. So actually quite close on that. Dribbles per 90, 0.14. We're about the same on that. So progressive passes per 90. So in possession, progressive passes per 90, which is something that seems to be easier for centre-backs to get. He's higher on, which is really more important. Header-on ratio, Gila on 70, that's really not good enough. And he's got 80, so I think 80 is the benchmark. Gila, that's really poor from Gila. I'm actually surprised. I always feel like he's our best centre-back on the right, but according to the stats, he's probably overinflated. Like, if I was to get 40 million off of, not from them, but from somebody else, but I have to take it. He's not playing that well. He's just not, as much as I like him. Okay, so look at these stats. We've got a couple of centre-backs early on here. We've got Granja Bento, who's in our own league. Apparently, he's very, very good. I mean, tackle ratio of 89% and a header-on ratio of 85%, knowing those stats in our own league, that is a very good start, and he's going to be coming in. I've got the wrong view up here, actually, temporarily, but it's not going to change the fact that he's got those stats. That's really impressive, to be fair. And yeah, he'll be definitely coming in on the shortlist at the very least. So, Rolando Babo has got tackle ratio of 88%, extremely high, extremely good. Header-on ratio 68%, that's not anywhere near as good, in fact, quite worrying. But he's got good in those, in that specific stat there. He's got a open key pass of 0.23. That's pretty close to what we were looking for. His progressive passes per 90 is 3.99. And we were looking for 7.72 from the PSG player, although that's pretty close to our own players. So, interceptions per 90 of 2.78 is pretty low on that. So, he's not quite ready, I don't think. So not going to be a first-team player. So we're going to scout him for another year and see how his stats develop next year. Hopefully next year his header ratio goes up. His progressive passes per 90 goes up. You know, a couple of these little things and monitor him going into next season. Okay, so similar to the last player, we've got Karl-Heinz Sickinger here. And he's got tackle ratio of 93%, extremely high. Interceptions per 93, that's really, really good. No mistakes this season. Oblique passes and progressive passes is okay. But header ratio is slightly low. So we're going to shortlist him. Again, probably not this year, but it's pretty close. Okay, there's this guy here. He plays in the Belgian league. He's got a tackle ratio of 88%, header ratio of 74%, but he's 6'6". He's got a draws per 90 of 0.87, which is pretty good for centre-back. Progressive passes per 90 of 4.26, which is pretty much in line with our current centre-backs. Interceptions per 90 of 2.99. Could be a very underrated player there. I'm just basically looking at young centre-backs and seeing any that stand out. It's amazing the amount of centre-backs that the game obviously determines as wonder kids with like big clubs interested in these players. But they've got really bad header-on ratio. You can see 2 on the shortlist here that I put on there. But none of these players are anything special. That's the first player at the bottom, Bartos here. He looks really good and maybe the player that we're looking for. But some of the other wonder kids are just players that we can't buy them. They haven't got good enough. Most of them don't have a good enough headers 1 ratio is the biggest problem, and normally progressive passes per 90, sometimes even tackle win ratio being low as well. It's actually quite difficult, this. Right, that is centre-backs done. I'm not going to bother looking for a goalkeeper. I'm happy with my current goalkeeper and Prevo being the backup. For now, that's good with me. So what I'm going to do now is going to go away for a couple of weeks in the game, try and get some transfers done, see what we can sell in particular, get some scouts out, look scouting these players, and see what we're able to do early on. Again, only £4 million to spend, so the likelihood is that we'll sell the 2 number 10s, we'll get at least 1 number 10 in, and then we'll just see what happens from there. Because if I think I can sell 3 or 4 first-team players and replace them with like 8, then we could do that, right? But I don't know. Maybe this year we stick with the squad for the majority of the time, but we'll see. So I just realised one thing I don't think that we've done is a player attribute reveal from Season 5, I think it is now, isn't it? So let's do that quickly then, I guess. I completely forgot to do this, by the way. So if we go back to, is it Season 5 now? I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's going to be 26, 27, basically, the main part of this team here. Are we going to see Boniface now? Are we going to see Boniface? I think we are, aren't we? This is going to be interesting then. So we're going to see Boniface. Oh, there's some good players in here, isn't there? So this intake is going to be Falrez. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thomas Christensen, Preeka, Boniface. Here we go. That's what I mean. Because it's all on one page, technically, we're looking mostly at this team here. But then it gives us Boniface and DaCosta because they were sold really early for the next summer. So really, Boniface and DaCosta are part of the team for the next season. But they just happen to be on this page. And I'm just doing it that way because it's much easier for me to follow it if it's on the page. I'm just doing it that way. So sometimes we get to see a player slightly earlier than other times. So that's going to be interesting. Just going to see all these players. Let's go through this quickly a second here and see what we've got. So quick recap of the season. We finished second on 76 points. I think that was our best ever finish, actually, this team. So they did a pretty good job. And the best 11 was as follows. Yeah, sort of a cross between these two teams, isn't it? You sort of got this team here. Yeah, I think it was mainly this team, right? It was mainly this team because the transfer window is at the end of the season. So it's mainly this team and a little bit of this team coming in here that we're going to be seeing in today's attribute reveal, which will be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these players come out. The main one really being... I'm looking forward to seeing Andrew, the goalkeeper, which isn't going to be in this one, I don't think, unless I missed his name. But yeah, looking forward to this. Really looking forward to seeing what comes up. So Rodrigo Garro is going to be first. Let's see how we get on with him. Rodrigo Garro was a player that we signed for... Rodrigo Garro is a player that we signed for £2.3 million, sort of for 7.5. And yeah, he does look pretty decent. Not excellent, not like top level. Pretty good to finish second with him starting so many games for us in the 1 year we had him. In fact, no, only he didn't, did he? He came on off the bench so many times for us. He didn't actually start those matches, so... Yeah, not too bad, actually. A really good bit of business overall, though. Ferrarese, the centre-back. Wow, he was good, wasn't he? Christ. He was so reliable. And what's funny is the coaches and the scouts kept putting him at, like, 2.5 stars, 3 stars compared to the rest of the team in the league. He was really good for us. He was really good on the side of a back 3, especially with 11 dribbling. Was it dribbles per 90 that he had? I think it was, wasn't it? He always had good dribbles per 90. And I didn't necessarily think that meant he had specifically good dribbling. I thought that maybe meant that there was something about the way he was moving, whether it was his composure, maybe it was his agility. I didn't necessarily think his dribbling would be high, but he's almost got like he can almost play up front there, Ferrarese, with 10 finishing. Look at that. What a player. Legend. Signed in for 2.1, sold in for 1.4, but in those 3 years, what he gave us was worth more than the money. The stats that he gave us and the ability for us to jump from a relegation potential side to a Champions League side in those few years was impressive. Jacob Larsson, the winger, really poor, to be honest, was Jacob Larsson. We signed him, though, for 2.9, sold him for 5.75, so good business, even though he wasn't really the player we wanted him to be for us. Aziz Yakubu. Do you know what? I am surprised that his finishing is so high because he really struggled to score for us towards the back end of the season in particular. So I'm a bit surprised at Aziz Yakubu here being so good. But yeah, he kept firing pretty good on the stats for his previous club for us, so before us. Thomas Christensen, our 6'6" centre-back. How good was he? He was pretty good. Jumping reach of 20. Wasn't expecting that. Strength of 15. Tackle ratio. Pretty solid centre-back, actually. Him and Ferrarese are a pretty good partnership to have as a back 2, probably, let alone as part of a 3. Really good player, actually. Sold him for 3, sold him for 5. Probably sold him for cheap, really. Could have probably got more for him. What a player. Enzo Leopold was actually a pretty well-rounded player, He's not too bad, actually. I thought he was worse than that. They really did tank him on the ratings, didn't they? The coaches thought he was like a 2-star, 1-star player. That's why you should always be open-minded to what you've got in your team based on what your coaches are telling you. And we signed him for 750 grand, sold him for 1 million. Was really a bit part player for us, but good part of the club's history. Meant to the left wing back is exactly what I thought he would be. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him before, but yeah, that's pretty much what I expected him to be for us. Tim Preaker. Oh, he was good, wasn't he? Preacher. We're going to get discussions and arguments about it again, but he was actually really, really good. We ended up signing him for 4.8, sold him for 20. Scored a lot of goals for us over those 2 years. And yeah, actually is a really solid striker. Would be pretty useful as a striker in our current system, you know. But he's no longer with us. He's in Spain playing for Villarreal. And it was still good business for us regardless. And it gave us like a progressive point, right? It gave us a chance to succeed and progress with him as a striker. Then we sold him and the club moved on. But really good player. And he's wanted by Monaco. Oh dear. Samuel the CDM. Okay. Not the best. Mert Model, the backup fullback. Okay, he's actually pretty good. On the side of a back three, he was probably pretty decent and was okay as a defensive fullback. Was part of our history for a while. And we almost got our money back for him. So that's okay. Evidence the striker, he was much, much better than I thought he was. I don't think I've ever seen him before in Foot Manager. I don't think I've ever used him. He's actually really creative. 15 dribbling, 14 passing, 13 vision. He can almost play number 10. He's actually a really good player. We signed him for 375 grand, 2.1 million. I'd say that's a really successful Moneyball signing. For him to be that good, signing from the South African League based purely on his stats and not knowing what his attributes were, that was a really good signing. A risky one. And a good one. And look at his valuation up there now. Wow. Fair play to him. Yeah, he could easily be successful in Europe for somebody. And I'm pleased that he's doing well. Good player. Just wasn't quite ready for us. We had him for 2 years as well, but made a decent profit after he was a really good backup. But there you are. We'll go Da Costa first, then Boniface. So Da Costa. I don't know what I was expecting because he was actually really effective for us. I, for some reason, was thinking he'd be slightly better, but that is pretty good, to be fair. No, I guess that is sort of about right. He was really, really good. Like, I'm not trying to downplay how good he is. I was really expecting because he was so effective and he looked so good in matches. And there he is for £3.6 million signed, sold for 9. Not done too well this year for Forest, but there you go. And again, if we sell a player, we never bring them back. So once we've seen their attributes, they're no longer part of our save. So yeah, no worries about that. Last but not least, Victor Boniface. Now, do you know what's interesting? It doesn't seem like there's too much difference in attributes from him in evidence. He obviously scored loads more goals and was way more effective, but they're pretty close, aren't they? Good player, really good player, Victor Boniface, playing for Atletico Madrid now. And, he's on loan. Yeah, we signed him for 2.9 million, sold him for 20. That is some serious business there. And they've already loaned him out Chelsea to Atletico Madrid. Typical Chelsea fashion, that is, isn't it? So there you go. Pretty good. And that is going to conclude it. That's going to conclude our attribute reveal for this season. And we'll get back to the transfers, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time. Huge moment in the series. Manchester City bid something like, 90 odd million up front and a lot of installments and nonsense after that for Piscicelli. So I said, okay, give me 120 up front and keep everything else. And they said yes. So I've accepted it. Now, it gives us over 2 weeks to have to actually decide this because obviously it'll take a few days for them to accept their contract and then we can delay it twice. Now, it's a lot of money. We're only going to get like 50 odd million to spend because of this nonsense. I can't believe it says 60% of the transfer revenue when we've got 54 in the bank. Projections are looking pretty good. So the Piscicelli transfer would give us money now. I'm pretty sure the board would give us money to spend in future transfer windows because the club's finances would just be through the roof. And yeah, the deal looks like this. It's structured as follows. It's 120 up front, 34 million, 17 million for each season. So that would be basically 120 right now. Then 17 million for each of the next 2 summers. So we'll get there. Then after 10 international games, we'll get 32 million. So probably around this time next year, we'll be doing another 32 million on top of that. And we get 30% of the profit the next sale. They'll never sell them, I don't think. But it's like, about 35% of it does go to Atalanta. That's why some of it is also being taken off. So, because it's a pretty good offer. But part of me thinks, would Piscicelli be like that legend that sort of just kept scoring goals for us every year and would sort of lead us through to like take the fight to PSG? Because we don't need to sell him this season. We could sell him maybe next season if he really doesn't want to re-sign a new contract. But I just have a feeling he's going to keep scoring every year. He's always going to keep scoring. Now, do I have a plan B? Well, I've already signed one player. I may as well go through some of the players we've signed. We've signed, first of all, the Turkish striker Aykut Bagci, who we looked at. So, I mean, immediately, he'd be a good player to go and be a replacement right now. He'd go in and try and be the replacement at least early on. Seems like a pretty good young player. We also have on my shortlist, I was just checking him out a second ago, a player called Fabio. I've got one non-EU slot that's currently available. And where's Fabio gone here? Fabio Luis. So he's been playing for FLU here, and he scored 16 goals. Extra points of 6.5, 96'1", same height as Pizzicelli. So I'd probably sign him. I feel like we'd have two good young strikers to replace him. But are they going to be as good as Pizzicelli right now? The answer is probably no. Oh, it's hard. I think from a Moneyball perspective, I have to sell him because I've got two players that I think fit the stats well enough, and they're going to cost me. Well, I've already bought one of them myself. Like, he's already paid for this guy. Bought him for 8.75. I think it was all up front as well. Like, are they going to be the same player right now? No, but could they be in the future? They could be. They could be in the future. The money, this is a real test. The Moneyball strategy, because we all know Pizzicelli is going to be world class, right? We know he's going to be one of the best strikers in the game when we finally look at him. 5 goals, 4 appearances. He's just so good. I think I'm going to have to do it, and I feel devastated having to do it, but I think it's the right move from a Moneyball perspective. So he is currently unhappy and does want to leave. Yeah, I don't feel good about doing this. I sort of feel like that him and Barbosa are the first like 2 players that are going to be on PSG's level to take it to them, right? I think selling him is a bit of a disappointment, but I do think it's the right way to go for us. I think we have to do it. As much as the disappointment in my voice, you can hear it. It's because I've got 2 strikers that I know will do a job. Like, I know they'll get me 30 goals a season. They won't score too many that they shouldn't score, but like Pizzicelli's so good. He scored so many important goals for me last season, but it's still not good enough right now. By selling Pizzicelli, yeah, I can replace him, but it also gives me funds to really secure the rest of the team going into the next 2 years, I would say. And we need to improve the rest of the team more than we need to improve the striker. I think the striker role, like Pizzicelli scored... So Pizzicelli got 32 goals last season. I think the strikers that I've got could get me 32 goals this year. And from the Moneyball perspective, going back to the film, going back to baseball, if you feel like you can, from a lesser amount of money, between those 2 players, get it for like, I don't know, a 1/7 of the cost, whatever it's going to cost for him, we have to do it. It's Moneyball says you have to do it, I think, here. The amount of money that they've offered for him is way above the statistical output for him this season and last season. Now, we know he's going to get a better player. We know he's going to develop as a better player. But from a Moneyball perspective, looking at the pure stats and the science of the situation, he has to go. And we have to use these 2 other players to bring in, and we'll see how that goes. I know I can hear the cries. I can hear the cries in the comment section now of disgrace towards this decision, but I think it's got to happen. And yeah, I guess Pizzicelli, my favourite player in the series so far, reliable Pizzicelli, is going to be a Manchester City player next season. But while you're here, let's go through the players we managed to sign so far. So we've managed to bring in just the 2 players. Managed to bring in Bagchi up front, obviously, and Rolando Babbo. So the reason I brought Babbo in is he had very similar stats to Gila, like we said. He wasn't a dominant in the air like Gila was. Like, him and Gila had a very similar header-one ratio, but he was good everywhere else. So I took the decision to sell Gila and bring in Babbo. That was the decision I made. Babbo happens to be left-footed, which gives us a bit of balance at the back as well. I thought those 2 decisions together made it an easy choice to bring Babbo in. He can replace potentially then as one of the 2 lads at centre-back, but he's going to be more of the travel with the ball, playing out from the back, interceptions, tackles. He's not going to be as dominant in the air. He's going to be basically a Gila replacement, but on the left side. In terms of players out, we've managed to sell Madueke for 30 million, and we managed to sell him on a free chance. That's good business. Adele for 24.5 million, and Badia Chile has gone for 42 million pounds. So although we brought that player in to replace Guido in terms of the stats, he also will play on the left side instead of Badia Chile. So we need to make sure that somebody on the right is now slightly more dominant in the air, because that's what Badia Chile did for us on the left side, of course. And that is it. Nothing else has really happened. So you'll join me back, I guess, around the 2nd week of July, and we'll see how this is all played out. But yeah, the likelihood is that I'll bring in the Brazilian striker that I just showed you that a second ago. I'll activate his release clause. I think Barcelona are looking at him, so we need to make sure we get him fast. And yeah, let's see how things all develop. Okay, there are so many things to update you on. The first thing is, this is pissing me off right here. Pierre Ferracci is going to sell the club now, right? He's going to sell the club. That's our current bank balance, right? And that's our projection. Whoever comes in is going to probably end up having less of a bank balance than this, and we are going to be no better off. They're going to give us no extra money, no extra wage budget, and their overall balance will be lower than what it is right now. So he is going to take this money and leave, and I'm going to be furious. I'm furious about this because all of our good work this year has been undone by this. I can't believe he's going to do this to us. Well, he said it last year, Pierre. So that's the first thing. The next thing, I mean, it's not definite, of course. If we were to get a tycoon or a consortium, maybe, but we know it's not going to happen. Let's go through some players in then. Right at the back of last year, we had a few here. So we signed Babbo was the last player I showed you. We've signed in Helgi Helgason here for £10 million. Already worth 39 to 58. Again, a more pacey, ball-playing kind of defender. We weren't too sure if we were going to sign him this year, but I re-looked at all the stats of the centre-backs, and to be fair, he still looked pretty good. Value for money, and he comes in there for £10 million all up front. Bogdan comes in as a backup pivot player. He's probably not going to play too much. He had pretty good stats. He's got 4 caps for Serbia already, actually, the age of 21. He's probably not going to play too much, sort of just like almost like a replacement for Ponti that we had last year. A slightly better player than Ponti, so we'll see. Aykut Yalcin, I think he's going to be a pretty good backup pivot player for us. He's got 1 cap for Turkey, 39 under 21 caps. I think he's going to be a slightly better version of our sort of backup CDM than we had last year with a couple of players. So he's going to be in there, again, just as an emergency player, really. If we need to rotate players, that kind of stuff. Fabio Luis does come in for £18 million all up front, as we said previously. A extremely good player, good prospect. Is he going to be the elite forward we need him to be? We don't know, basically. His valuation's gone up way high. Okay, that's quite good news, I suppose. He's actually injured right now, so that's not a good start. That's one of the things I was going to mention about Pizzuchelli. Pizzuchelli never got injured, and that's very underrated quality, and Fabio's already got one. Rainy Breenberg comes in as a left-back. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I've sold Dylan Chevalier, who was a club homegrown prospect from the academy. The reason is, I've got enough homegrown players anyway, and also now, Rikichi and Ray both are club homegrown now as well. So I don't need him anymore just because he's club homegrown. So if I look at the 2 left-backs, and I'm basing this purely on their statistical output, Gutierrez was very, very good, and he probably needs a more solid backup to push him. That was the conclusion. So I thought selling Chevalier, getting in Breenberg, who's somebody who's been on our shortlist now for a couple of years, I thought was quite a good bit of business. So he comes in for £14 million, which is less than what Napoli bought him for just a year ago. Karl-Heinz Sickinger comes in. Yes, the 6'4" German centre-back playing at an overachieving Freiburg last year. He's actually from the Bayern Academy, which I wasn't too familiar with before. Looks like he could be a really good player. He demanded to be an instant starter, like key player, so let's hope he is going to be that for us. That's what he demanded, so he's going to be our starting centre-back, and we'll see how he goes. Miroslav Novakovic, he was a young striker in Serbia, had a release clause of 4.3 million. He's now worth 56 to 68. Had some really good stats last year, scored some goals in the top division, and comes in for a really cheap fee. He'll be an emergency striker, an emergency winger probably, but maybe he does more than that. Who knows? Really good prospect there. Last but not least, Warren Zaire-Emery, the first choice central midfielder for me really this season with all the stats that he had. Is he going to be the best player? Probably not, but he had the best stats, and he's going to start, I'm not sure as the box-to-box or as the ball winner, because Rikichi might play centre-back, and if he does, Emery could play as the pivots, like the more defensive one. I'm not sure, actually, because you've got Bergalo as well. In terms of players out then, we had Mado Ake, those before, so Off-4 goes for 4.9 million. We signed him for 4.9, sold him for 4.9, which is obviously a complete neutral in and out, but he was part of a team that won a cup. So you got to remember, he was actually part of a team that won a trophy, played a crucial role in that as well. So definitely worth the money. Even if we would have made a loss on him, it would have been still a good transaction, I think, but we didn't. We broke even. I sold Mori for 10.25 up front, 13.25 overall. He was a player that we signed for 5.5 all up front, so a good bit of business there. Pizzuchelli does go for his 154 million, 186 overall. Yeah, best of luck to him. Club legend, really. He'll never get the justice that he deserves. Mario Guidi goes to £21 million. Last year, I thought he was a good centre-back, and looking at the stats, comparing them to PSG, made me realise that he's actually not performing that well. There are 4 mistakes in him last season that cost a goal, so that's really high in FM. Dylan Ponte goes to 3.4. A technical loss, but it just wasn't really the level of player that we needed. Only had 1 start last season. And last but not least, Dylan Chevalier goes to Rangers for 3.9 million, but it's up to 5.75 potentially with a kickback as well. So pretty good. Transfers in, transfers out, 71, 193. And now overall, we have spent £384 million on transfers at Paris FC, and we have brought in and sold 546 million, and we've somehow been promoted and won a trophy and challenged the league title in that time frame, which is amazing and brilliant to see. Proper Moneyball stuff going on here, using the stats to identify the players, and we're able to make profits on some as well, which is nice. So in terms of the squad then, it's not quite as logical as having 2 players for every position. We have got that amount in the squad there, but it's like, if the right back was out, I would play Dimitrovic right back probably, right? That would be the scenario there. However, I'm probably going to try and play Barbosa as the 10 early on because I don't think I've got another player to play as a 10 who is going to be on the same level as Adele. Conti, maybe. I could try Conti as a 10. And if I try Conti as a 10, I could then move Barbosa out wide. It's really what combination gets the best out of the team. And then everybody else will fall outside of that because we've got so many players. Like Alexander Rue is going to be definitely the backup pivot player for me. He's not going to be a starter, backup pivot player. Rikichi could be a starting pivot. He could be a starting centre-back. He could be a backup. I don't think he's going to be a backup. It could be that him and Sickinger play together at centre-back. But then I want Babbo to play really tough, that is. And yeah, up front as well, I think that Fabio Luis will probably be the starting striker generally, but Bagchi, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but Bagchi here, he's going to get the chance early on because there's nobody else to play up front. In fact, Miroslav Nika, do you know what? The coaches rate him pretty highly, don't they? Giving him 3 stars already. They don't think he's too far off. Fabio Luis and Aykut here, which is pretty good. I didn't realise he was that good. I just thought he'd be a good prospect, so maybe we've done even better than we realised there. Let's put a team together for this. Let's put a team together for the season. Then we'll make some tweaks for this one-off game because there are injuries already. Okay, so that's going to be the team for the season, I think, at least at the start. We're going to go, I think, with Babbo left centre-back because he's left-footed. I mean, that's the only reason why. Him and Helgeson are pretty close. And I don't know what to do because either I play Rikichi as a CDM, and that makes Zaire Emery move to the pivot player, like the box-to-box role, in which case that makes me drop both Conti comes up the team, so does Bagallo. But if I was to play Rikichi centre-back, it probably would bring in, I think, Bagallo to play with Emery. So, to be honest, I think we're going to have to just see what happens this season because I have a feeling that maybe Babbo may not be quite ready at centre-back and neither will Helgeson. And it might be that, yeah, we play Rikichi and Sickinger. My only concern is they're both like big centre-backs at 6'1", 6'5", and there's nothing about pace or agility anywhere, which means they could both be pretty slow, which is my only concern playing Rikichi and Sickinger next to each other. But we'll see anyway. We'll see. By the way, George is unhappy because I sold Pizzuchelli, which I understand, but he needs to just get on with it, to be honest. So there we are. So we're going to put, obviously, Aykut goes in there. That's an easy change to the bench there. Is everybody else fit? Everybody else is fit to play. So that's going to be your team for the PSG game in the French Community Shield. We have Georgie in goal. Gutierrez, Babbo, Sickinger, Makanu, Okaneze, Emery, pivots, Barbosa 10, Ray by a wide with Aykut up front. My only concern is I think we might lose this because I'm not quite sure Babbo's ready. I don't think these two as a partnership are ready to go in this game against PSG. I think Rikichi should probably play centre-back, but, you know, let's go for it, see what happens, see how the team does. Obviously, PSG haven't beaten us in a 90-minute game in a long time. The last one that actually beat us ever, like, if you want to count this as a win, they beat us in this game last year on penalties after drawing 2-2 in normal time. Assistant manager says, nobody expects us to get a result, no pressure. Okay. In fact, before we start the game, let's have a look at their team again. What did PSG do this season for business? They bought Aymeric Laporte on a free, 35-year-old centre-back, who they'll probably play because he's a high reputation player. Vidovic, they bought for £29 million. That seems like a bit of a good deal for us. Balut, they've signed for 25, and Kakaret here for quite a lot of money, 29-year-old midfielder. They also got Hannibal on loan, by the way. I tried to get Hannibal, didn't I? He decided to go to PSG on loan instead of to us, so I will not be re-signing Hannibal from that treachery. And that is their first team against us. Tell up front, Jota, Mbappe. I mean, Kimpembe as a 4. Okay, Laporte centre-back. Lloyd Kelly left-back. We've got a chance. We've got a chance here. Like, Aymeric Laporte is aging, and they've got Lloyd Kelly next to him. Not that terrible. Like, a 35-year-old Laporte's still pretty good next to a Lloyd Kelly, but it could be better. That's the whole point, right? Is they could have something a lot worse. And we'll see how they do here early on. They go straight in behind to Jota, gets in behind my left back, goes through and he scores early on. PSG go 1-0 up. They throw the ball into the left-hand side. All right, they play it straight into Zaire Emery. Barbosa into Bayer. Loses the ball, though. Goes to Laporte. They can build their attack. We've got to win this. Good lad, Babbo. Into Ray. Gutierrez to Babbo. Plays a bit of a risky pass there. Maybe we should go with the right-footed centre-back in there early doors. Like, he's just had a really risky pass into the right CDM. I'm not sure I'm going to like if he keeps doing that against really good sides. I might get caught out a few times. Bayer puts some challenges flying in now from Paris FC. It's going to be their highlight, though, I think. Is it? It looks like it could be now. Yeah, there it is. As the overload, Ray just let Hakimi go. That can't be a goal, surely, and it's not. Yeah, I'm going to make an early change here. I'm going to take off the left centre-back. I'm going to put, I think Rikichi can go in there. I'm going to switch these to, I'm going to put then Lucas Bagallo as the right CDM. Half that's 1-0 to PSG, so should be something else in the second half. Change the left back as well, the next change we're going to do. Still nothing happening in the game, which is a bit disappointing. Ray's playing really poorly. I was hoping Ray would do better this year, giving a starting role again, but yeah, he's going to have to come off here, isn't he? Dimitrovic on for Ray, and I guess Dimitrovic go to the left, or do we try and play... Could Dimitrovic play in as a 10, do we reckon? I don't really know how good he is and what he's good at, to be honest, because we can't see his attributes. I know whenever he plays left, he doesn't play amazing, but Barbosa does. So we could try and do that. Can I make another sub still? No, you can make 3 in the community shield, can't you? Let's do that. Dimitrovic down the middle. Still no goal for us. We're going to have to try and go for this now. So we're going to go... Oh, what do we do here? Should we go Barbosa up front? Begalo can go into the playmaker role. Bayer. Barbosa, maybe that looks better. Let's go with that. Halaim McCanny throws it into Sickinger, gets it back. Plays on the left to Dimitrovic, who's got time. Oh, he's played a terrible pass, though. It's been intercepted. PSG are going to counter on us. Diego Jota goes through, shoots, and scores with a great finish. His finish is 2-0. It's disappointed, but, it's first game of the season. We've got a lot of new players now with no Piscicelli up front. It was always going to be a slight learning curve for us. It's going to be interesting to see who we play centre-back together, because they've only just got past 1 XG, and that was after they scored the 2 goals. Bit disappointing from the defending in terms of them scoring the goals, but we kept them at bay for quite a long time. We've not really seen any highlights at all from the attacking players, so it's hard to make a judgment on that. Makanu is like really well rated by the coaches. He's well rated in the game by the press. He's apparently the best youngster in the world at the moment, but he never plays well for us. His match rates are consistently poor. What a goal, Musiala. It's going to finish 3-0. Yeah, we'll say disappointing, I think, because it was. Right, food for thought from that game. I wasn't too impressed with the defensive match rate in some of these players. I'm going to give Gutierrez a bit longer to turn that around because he was so good last year. Aykut would definitely get another game here up front. Ray seems to be doing this a lot when he's playing on the left-hand side. I don't know if I can play him in the middle. I don't think I can. He's a really good passer, though, isn't he, actually, now I think about it? Tell you what, let's go with that as the front, 4. I'm happy with that. Now, Rikichi may need to play centre-back here, or we could try that. So let's try this and put Helgeson centre-back, because I know Helgeson's quick. He's a quick centre-back, so maybe that'll be good on this side. We can balance the team out a little bit. Let's go with that. I'll see you in 7 days for the little game. Right, here we go then. This is going to be your team for the first league game of the season. It is going to be Jorginho goal, Gutierrez, Sickinger, Helgeson, Macano across the back. Okanazet, Emery pivots, Reyes at 10 with Bay and Barbosa on the wings, and then Aykut up front. Here we go. This is the first real game of the season. It's always hard, that first game. 1, it's a cup final. 2, it's against PSG for us. And 3, if you bought a lot of new players and stuff. And 3, if you bought a lot of new players, it can be a game that doesn't tell the full picture of how your team's going to play at the start of the season, because you've got a lot of new players, of course. Here we go then, first highlight of the season for us properly. Gutierrez goes on the left-hand side, plays back to the goalkeeper, okay. Helgeson's going to get onto this, the right centre-back, because he's not very good at passing, which is not good, I suppose. Ray gets it, Ray into Bagchi, goes through, Aykut, or I need to call him one of the 2 names, Aykut. We'll call him Aykut, I think. Mechanic throws it into Ray. Ray into Emery. So Ray doesn't play 10 at all, by the way. He's going to have to learn to play there for quite a while. So he's going to make a lot of weird decisions on the ball. Might make some poor movements early on, but eventually, hopefully, when he learns to play there, he'll start to play better for us, I think. Okay, into Ray goes. Ray into Aykut goes through. Is he going to score? He's going to score. Oh, he's at the post. He's looked dangerous there in 2 different chances already. And Ray as well is looking dangerous as a 10, to be honest. Yeah, Ray's on a 7.2 playing as the 10, which is really good to see. Might have to put him on a shadow striker regime and get him learning to play there a bit earlier. That's a terrible pass into nobody. We're going to try and press it now with Ray. Ray tries to press it. They're going to play around us. Robert goes up. They're going behind it. We can deal with this. Sickinger is big and he's 6'4". Rikichi wins a tackle. Good lads. Emery back into Rikichi. Plays out to Gutierrez. He's going to have to make some movements off him, lads. Gutierrez into Barbosa. Into Ray. Is he onside? He saved it. And he was onside as well. Ray's looking dangerous, in his 10 role. Hasn't quite got the goal or the assist just yet, but he's looking dangerous. Corner from Ray now as well. And he's club homegrown now. Oh, we've hit the near post, I think, there. Or it was the keeper saved it right before it got to the near post area. Yeah, we're looking dangerous here. I hope we get the goal. Obviously, that's what we need. We need the goal. It'd be very nice if little Aykut could get the goal up front. But corner, Ray, near post. Sickinger goes up, gets blocked. Macanu to Barbosa. Macanu right hand side. Is he going to cross it? Does. And it's going to be kicked back out to Helgeson. Rikichi. And it's just over the bar. Okay, half time. We've had a 2xG, 1.96, just short of it. We've never had a 2xG at home. No penalty. But it's 0-0. We miss Piscicelli. Look at, Aykut's gone a 6.2. Not great, is it? I tell you what, oh, they're going to score, aren't they? We'll put Novakovic as the striker on, and they've got a penalty. I don't believe this. There's absolutely no part of me that can accept this result if we don't win the game. If we even draw the game, I'm going to be furious, really, because they have been dog shit, and they go on the up as well. Gala here, they stop the ball high at the pitch. Can we win this off them? Got to be a high press here, lads. We're ultra attacking. We're going for this. We're very attacking. We're absolutely going for this. We're again to Novakovic, into Ray. Ray goes through, shoots from distance. No, Ray, come on. Ray with a free kick towards the far post. Sickinger goes up. It's headed away. And they've got nobody else up front here. They're still going to build the attack anyway, apparently. Okay. We're going to get to this. They're going to get to that. Oh, no, we are just. Okay. Goes, well, short, actually. Biosomol recovers this, though. We're going to get a highlight, I think, here. Is it going to be a goal? Georgie out to Okan. They don't deserve anything at this game, let alone a bloody win. Rikichi plays it into Barbosa, headed straight back. He's going to come back forwards now, is it? It's a terrible pass. Are we going to get anything from this? It might even be their highlight after all of this. It is, isn't it? Like, it's annoying because part of me is like, I'm not worried because we battered them. We've got a good team. We're going to be okay. But it's like being spineless in the first game of the season, losing that game, that costs you the title. Like, how many games have PSG can lose at home this season? 0? Like, I hate to do this 2 years in a row. We've lost the title already. We've lost it. That is the problem with picking, I guess, France as a way to do as a place to do the Moneyball save, is that you get like a poor result early on like that, and it's going to happen probably again, right? We're going to have to go through certain seasons where we sell our best player because the financial value outweighs the stats, and we have to buy a load of players, and then we start slow. But every time you drop points, in that first game of the season, you're never going to win the title. We're never going to win it when we do that. So that's another season gone for the league, as far as I'm concerned. We've won the French Cup already. We're still going to take the French Cup seriously. It'd be nice to win the French Cup again, but the Champions League's going to be the priority, I think, early on, because that's just a disgrace, really, isn't it? Real shame. What I was going to say before this game ended up in a defeat was that we would come back for more games this season, because this was going to be a title race. So coming back for Lyon away and Monaco away is really important because there's a title race to be had, right? But that's not the case. So we'll come back as we did last year. It's probably then going to be a case of, I think, Rennes, PSG, and Marseille look like a pretty good one to do, because you've got two decent sides in France, one with the Tycoon takeover, then PSG in the derby as well, in the Paris derby. So that's what it's going to be. I'll play all these games here off camera. We'll at least know where we're sort of at in terms of the title race, but I think it's over. But PSG could technically, I guess, throw something away. But we've got all these games. We'll have a couple of Champions League games done by then as well, and we'll sort of see where we're at. And we'll have the takeover done as well. But I mean, watch out for this, right? So we've got 69 million right now today in the bank, right? Let's see what happens when the takeover goes through. I'm already dreading the scenario, but there we are. One last thing I wanted to show you, the financial screen was quite funny that I saw. Yeah, you just see the overall balance here. You see it all like floating around. In around like it being dead even, and then it just zooms straight up there, and it's so much higher than the race has ever been, which is just quite funny to see the balance there. But that is going to do the episode. Disappointing start to the season. No goals scored, 5 conceded. It isn't as bad as it looks. I think we're going to be okay. Clearly, we need to get... Do you know what, though? Piscicelli didn't do as well, so I taught him to break the offside trap. So I better get him working on that now, the two strikers. Fabiolos, can he do that now? Because he's injured, I can't make him do it, but I'll do it in a second. But that is going to do it. Thank you for watching the episode. Hope you're enjoying the series, and I'll see you all next time.